Canto 4, The Vision and the Boon. And we're reading out of Book 3, the Book of the Divine Mother. Then suddenly there rose a sacred stir amid the lifeless silence of the void. In a solitude and an immensity, a sound came quivering like a loved football. Here in the listening spaces of the soul, a touch perturbed his fibers with delight. An influence had approached the mortal range. A boundless heart was near his longing heart. A mystic form enveloped his earthly shape. All at her contact broke from silence's seal. Spirit and body thrilled, identified, linked in the grasp of an unspoken joy. Mind, members, life were merged in ecstasy. Intoxicated as with nectarous rain. His nature's passioning stretches flowed to her, flashing with lightnings, mad with luminous wine. All was a limitless sea that heaved to the moon. A divinizing stream possessed his veins. His body's cells awoke to the spirit's sense. Each nerve became a burning thread of joy. Tissue and flesh partook beatitude. Alight, the dun unplumbed subconscient caves thrilled with the prescience of her longed for tread, and filled with flickering crest and praying tongues, even lost in slumber, mute, inanimate. His very body answered to her power, for one he worshipped was within him now. Flame pure, ethereal, tressed, a mighty face. Appeared the lips moved by immortal words. Lids, wisdoms, leaves drooped over rapture's orbs. Lids, wisdoms, leaves drooped over rapture's orbs. A marble monument of pondering shone. And forehead sights crypt and large like ocean gaze. Towards the heaven, two tranquil eyes of boundless thought looked unto man and saw the God to come. A shape was seen on threshold mind, a voice. Absolute and wise, the heart's chamber spoke. A son of strength who climbs creation's peaks. No soul is thy companion in the light. Alone thou standest at the eternal doors. With thou hast won its thine, but ask no more. O spring, O spirit aspiring in an ignorant frame. O voice arisen from an inconscient world, how shalt thou speak for men whose hearts are dumb? Make pure blind earth the soul seer's vision home. Or lighten the burden of the senseless globe. I am the mystery beyond reach of mind. I am the goal of the travail of the suns, S-U-N-S. My fire and sweetness are the cause of life, but too immense my dagger and my joy. Awaken not the immeasurable descent, speak not my secret name to hostile time. Man is too weak to bear the infinite's weight. Truth, born too soon, might break the imperfect earth. Leave the all-seeing power to hew its way. In thy single vast achievement reign apart, helping the world with thy great lonely days. I ask thee not to merge thy heart of flame in the immobile wide and caring bliss turned from the fruitless motion of the years, deserting the fierce labor of the worlds, aloof from beings lost in the alone. How shall thy might, spirit, brook? Repose. One more time for those in the back in case I didn't hear it. I'll start at line 60. Deserting the fierce labor of the worlds, aloof from beings lost in the alone, how shall thy might spirit brook repose? While death is still unconquered on the earth and time a field of suffering and pain, thy soul was born to share the laden force. Obey thy nature and fulfill thy fate. Accept the difficulty of God and godlike toil. For those who know, everyone will know soon enough. For the slow pace, omniscient purpose live. The enigma's knot is tied in humankind. Whew. A lightning from the heights that sink and plan, plowing the air of life with vanishing trails. Man's soul awake in an unconscious world aspires in vain to change the cosmic dream. Yep. Arrived from some half-luminous beyond, he is a stranger in the mindless vast, a traveler in his oft-shifting home. Amid the tread of many infinities, he has pitched a tent of life in desert space. Heaven's fixed regard beholds him from above. In the house of nature a perturbing guest, a voyager twixt thoughts and constant shores, a hunter of unknown and beautiful powers, a nomad of the far mysterious light and the wide ways, a little spark of God. Against his spirit all is in dire league. A titan influence stops his Godward gaze. Around him hungers the unpitying void. The eternal darkness seeks him with her hands. Inscrutable energies drive him and deceive. Immense, implacable deities oppose an inert soul and a somnambulist force. I love that word, somnambulist. Force have made a world estranged from life and thought. The dragon of the dark foundation keeps unalterable the law of chance and death. On his long way through time and circumstance, the gray-hued, riddling nether shadow sphinx, woo, her dreadful paws upon the swallowing sands, awaits him armed with the soul-slaying word. Across his path sits the dim cap of night. His day is a moment in perpetual time. He is the prey of the minutes and the hours, assailed on earth and unassured of heaven, descended here unhappy and sublime. Sounds like someone I know. A link between the demigod and the beast. He knows not his own greatness nor his aim. He has forgotten why he has come and whence. His spirit and his members are at war. Victory to the divine light. I'm telling y'all now, that's what it is. His heights break off too low to reach the skies. His mass is buried in the animal mire. A strange autonomy is his nature's rule. A riddle of opposites is made his field. Freedom, he asks, but needs to live in bonds. He has need of darkness to perceive some light, and need of grief to feel a little bliss. He has need of death to find a greater life. All sides he sees, and turns to every call. He has no certain light by which to walk. His life is a blind man's buff, a hide and seek. He seeks himself, and from himself he runs. Meeting himself, he thinks it other than he. Always he builds, but finds no constant ground. Always he journeys, but nowhere arrives. He would guide the world. Himself he cannot guide. He would save his soul. His life he cannot save. This light his soul had brought, his mind had lost. All he had learned is soon again in doubt. A sun, S-U-N, to him seems the shadow of his thoughts. Then all is shadow again and nothing true. Unknowing what he does or whither he tends, he fabricates signs of the real in ignorance. He has hitched his mortal error to truth's star. His wisdom attracts, wisdom attracts him with her luminous mask, but never has he seen the face behind. A giant ignorance surrounds his lore, assigned to meet the cosmic mystery and dumb figure of a material world. His passport of entry false, and his personages, he is compelled to be what he is not. He obeys the inconscient. He had come to rule, and sinks in matter to fulfill his soul. Awakened from her lower driven forms, the Earth Mother gave her forces to his hands, and painfully he guards the heavy trust. His mind is a lost torchbearer on her roads, illumining breath to think and song to feel. He labors with his slow and septic brain, helped by the reason's vacillating fires, to make his thought and will a magic door for knowledge to enter in darkness of the world, and love to rule a realm of strife and hate. A mind impotent to reconcile heaven and earth, and tied to matter with 1,000 bonds, he lifts himself to be a conscious God, even when a glory of wisdom crowns his brow. When mind and spirit shed a grandiose ray to exalt this product of the sperm and gene, this alchemist's miracle from plasm and gas, and he who shared the animals run and crawl, lifts his thought stature to the immortal's heights. His life still keeps the human middle way. His body he resigns to death and pain, abandoning matter his too heavy charge. A thaumaturge, septic of miracles, spirit left sterile of its occult power by an unbelieving brain and credulous heart, he leaves the world to end where it began. He leaves his work unfinished. He claims a heavenly prize. Thus, he has missed creation's absolute. Halfway he stops his starved destiny, a vast and vain, long-tried experiment, an ill-served high conception, doubtfully done. The world's life falters on not seeing its goal. A zigzag towards unknown and dangerous ground, ever repeating its habitual walk, ever retreating after marches long, and hardly as victories without sure result, drawn endlessly, an inconclusive game, in an ill-fitting and voluminous robe, a radiant purpose still conceals its face. A mighty blindless stumbles hoping on, feeding its strength on gifts of luminous chance, because the human instrument has failed. The Godhead frustrate sleeps within its seed, a spirit entangled in the forms it made. His failure is not failure, for whom God leads. Through all the slow, mysterious march goes on, and an immutable power has made this mutable world. A self-fulfilling transcendence treads man's road, the driver of the soul upon its path. Its known is steps, its way is inevitable, and how shall the end be vain when God is guide? However man's mind may tire or fails his flesh, a will prevails, cancelling his conscious choice. A goal recedes, a boundless vastness calls, retreating into an immense unknown. There is no end to the world's stupendous march. There is no rest for the embodied soul. It must live on, describe all time's huge curve. An influx presses from the closed beyond, forbidding him to rest in earthly ease. Till he has found himself, he cannot pause. A light that leads, a power that aids, unmarked, unfelt, it sees in him and acts. Ignorant, he forms the all-conscious in his depths. Human looks up to superhuman peaks, a borrower of supernature's gold. He paves his road to immortality. The high God looks on man and watch and choose today's impossibles for the future's base. His transience trembles with the eternal's touch, his barriers seed beneath the infinite's tread. The immortals have their entries in his life. The ambassador of the unseen draw near. A splendor sullied by the mortal air. Love passes through his heart. A wandering guest, beauty surrounds him for a magic hour. He has visits of a large revealing joy. Brief wideness release him from himself. enticing towards a glory ever in front. Hopes of a deathless sweetness lure and leave. His mind is crossed by a strange discovering fires. Rare intimations lift his stumbling speech to a moment's kinship with the eternal word. A mask of wisdom circles through his brain, perturbing him with glimpses of half divine. He lays his hands sometimes on the unknown. He communes sometimes with eternity. A strange and grandiose symbol was his birth, an immortal and spirit room, and pure perfection and a shadowless bliss are this afflicted creature's mighty fare. In him the earth mother sees draw near the change, foreshadowed in her dumb and fiery depths, a godhead drawn from her transmuted limbs, an alchemy of heaven on nature's base, adept of the self-born unfailing line. Leave not the light to die, the ages bore. Help still humanity's blind and suffering life, obey the Spirit's wide omnipotence urge. A witness to God's parley with the night, it leaned compassionate from immortal calm and household desire, the troubled seed of things, ascent of thy high self, creature endure. Cease not from knowledge, lest thy toil be vast. No more can earthly limits pin thy force. Equal thy work with long unending times. Traveler upon the bare eternal heights, tread still the difficult and dateless path, joining the cycles with its austere curve. Measured for man by the innate gods, my light shall be in thee, my strength thy force. Let not the impatient Titan drive thy heart. Ask not the imperfect fruit, the partial prize. Only one boon, to be great in thy spirit, demand. Only one joy, to raise thy kind desire. Above blind fate and the antagonist powers, moveless there stands a high, unchanging will. To its omnipotence leave thy works result. All things shall change in God's transfiguring hour. Woo! August and sweet sank, hushed that mighty voice. Nothing now moved in the vast brooding space. A stillness came upon the listening world, a mute immensity of the Eternal's peace. But Aswapati's heart replied to her, a cry amidst the silence of the vast. How shall I rest content with mortal days? In the dull measure of terrestrial things, I, who have seen behind the cosmic mask the glory and the beauty of thy face, hard is the doom to which thou bindest thy sons, S-O-N-S, exclamation. How long shall our spirits battle with the night and bear defeat of the brute yoke of death? He who are vessels of a deathless force and builders of the Godhead of the race. Whew, this hits home, man. Or how it is thy work I do below, amid the error and waste of human life, and the vague light of man's half-conscious mind. Why breaks not in some distant gleam of thee? Ever the centuries I'm covered in goosebumps, and millenniums pass, where in the grayness of thy coming ray, where is the thunder of thy victory's wings? Only we hear the feet of passing gods. A plan in the occult eternal mind, mapped out to backwards and prophetic sight. The eons ever repeat their changeless round. The cycles all rebuild and ever aspire. All we have done is ever still to do. All breaks and all renews and is the same. Huge revolutions of life's fruitless gyre. The newborn age perishes like the old, as if the sad enigma kept its right. Oh, wow. Till all is done from which the scene was made, too little the strength that now is born is with us. Now with us is born. Too faint the light that steals through nature's lids. Too scant the joy with which she buys our pain. In a brute world that knows not its own sense, the instruments of an impulse not our own, move to achieve with our heart's blood for price half knowledge, half creation that soon tire. A foiled, immortal soul and perishing limbs, baffled and beaten back, we labor still. Annulled, frustrated, we still survive. In anguish we labor, that from us may rise a larger seeing man with nobler heart, a golden vessel of the incarnate truth, the executor of the divine attempt, equipped to wear thy earthly body of God, communicant and prophet and lover and king. I know that thy creation cannot fail, for even through the mist of mortal thought, infallible are the mysterious steps, and thought necessity dons the garb of chance. Hidden in the blind shifts of fate she keeps the slow calm logic of infinity's pace, and the inviolate sequence of its will. All life is fixed in an ascending scale, and an adamantian is the evolving law. In the beginning is prepared the close, the strange irrational product of the mire. The compromise between the beast and God is not the crown of thy miraculous world. I know there shall inform the inconscient cells, at one with nature and at height with heaven, a spirit vast as the containing sky, and swept with ecstasy from invisible founts, a God come down and greater by the fall. A power arose out of my sublimer cells, abandoning the tardy limp of the hours and the inconscient blink of mortal sight, where there were the thinker sleeps in too much light. There where the thinker sleeps in too much light. In intolerant flames, the lone all-witnessing eye, hearing the word of fate from silence's heart, in the endless moment of eternity, it saw from timelessness the works of time overpass where the leaden formulas of mind overpowered the obstacle of mortal space. The unfolding image showed the things to come. A giant dancer of Shiva tore the past. There was a thunder as of worlds that fall. Earth was o'errun with fire and the roar of death, clamoring to slay a world his hunger had made. There was a clangor of destruction's wings. The Titan battle cry was in my ears. Alarm and rumor shook the armored night. I saw the omnipotent's flaming pioneers over the heavenly verge which turns towards life, come crowding down the amber stairs of birth. Forerunners of a divine multitude, out of the paths of the morning star they came. Into a little room of mortal life I saw them crossing the twilight of an age, the sun-eyed children of a marvelous dawn. The great creators with wide brows of calm, the massive barrier breakers of the world, and wrestlers with destiny in her list of will. The laborers of the incommunicable, the architects of immortality. In the fallen human sphere they came, faces that wore the immortal's glory still. Man, this is crazy. I gotta stop for a second. Because I came back from my third near-death experience like 13 years ago, and I told my friends, my boy Gus D, my brother, mi hermano mío, man, this experience is so out of this world. I don't have words to describe it. I don't know that I will ever be able to come up with words to describe what I experienced. Fast forward to about 8-9 years ago, the Indian man that ushered me off the cloud into what he said was my soul family, my light family, all one. Faces I recognized from the history books, which sounded crazy at the time, like, you know, people that came and took earthly form from higher realms to bring out love and light in humankind. They were all there. Sri Aurobindo was the Indian man who I didn't really recognize who he was at first. I thought it was my homie Neil that was locked up in the Fed, which is like my human mind. But it wasn't. Years later, I'm reading on YouTube or somewhere in a book, and I see a picture of young Sri Aurobindo when he was imprisoned during the freedom fight for India. Boom, it hits me. Oh my gosh. That is the young man that ushered me off the cloud, in which eventually I saw what I call this great still white magnetic light, which was, in my opinion, the source of this all. Divine Mother, Source, Great Still White Magnetic Light. So I found out about Sri Aurobindo about 9 years ago, and I started looking into him, and I've just recently been led to read Savitri. It wasn't until reading Savitri just now that I am first time reading the words in this chapter, seeing that the man that ushered me off the cloud had already written the words to that which I would never need to come up with on my own, because he was going to put them in my life for me at the proper time. Oh my goodness. God, synchronicities are off the chain these days. So I'm reading this to y'all, this beautiful love story, Savitri by Sri Aurobindo, who I met, went out of body 13 years ago. He's led me here to read this to y'all. I gotta go. My mom's here with groceries. I love y'all. I'll be right back.